Now, folks, while Secretary Clinton's elite grows, she's now able to put more of a spotlight on Democratic candidates in the Senate as well as the House.
Deborah is exactly the kind of partner I need in the United States Senate. She will help me break through the gridlock, create more good jobs, help to get wages rising, rebuild our crumbling infrastructure.
The Deborah she's referring to is, of course, a Democrat who's running for the United States Senate there in North Carolina, Deborah Ross. Tough Senate race against incumbent Senator Richard Burr. Keep in mind it was Richard Burr who didn't support Loretta Lynch for Attorney General and also blocked 3 other black women for federal bench, appointments to the federal bench there as well. So many African Americans are not particularly happy with him. The question is, can she drive the black vote? Now, as a result of that, 2 black members of Congress, 2 senior members of Congress, Congressman James Clyburn, Democratic leadership, and Congressman G.K. Butterfield told the New York Times they want Clinton to pony up for a portion of her $150 million war chest and use it to increase voter turnout in states with large black populations. Their concern is a lack of enthusiasm among African Americans, as they say, particularly among millennials. Now, they say, look, she's going to get a majority of those votes, as you saw us talk about previously, but their issue is intensity. How do you drive more? They believe that high black voter turnout will ensure Democrats gain control of both the Senate and the House to drive through her particular agenda. And so I want to go to our panel, A. Scott Boland, Tiffany Lofton, Eugene Craig III. Look, this is an issue here. DCCC has often been criticized for the lack of support in terms of driving out black voters. And what they're saying is like, look, Clinton, you're sitting on a huge war chest. Don't do like Senator John Kerry did in 2004 when the campaign was over and he still had $14 million in the bank. Clyburn was like, what's up with that? I mean, you need to spend those resources. I think they have a strong point here because the reality is this here. If you're a Democrat, I mean, whether you're Democrat or Republican, you want either large majorities or you want to be a narrow minority. And so if you're in the House, right now Republicans have a 30-plus vote lead. If you're Democrats, you're able to shrink that down to 15, down to 12 or 10. One, you make your job easier in 2 years to retake the House, but also you force the Republicans to have to talk to you in a different way. Same thing in the Senate. If the Senate flips, it's now a whole different conversation.
Absolutely. You know, I think it may be a pipe dream for Democrats to think that the House is going to flip. And I think the majority there is too solid. I do think Republicans are going to take some losses this cycle, but I don't think the House is going to flip. Now, the Senate is a different, subject. I think, folk like Rob Portman's looking really strong. Kelly Ayotte's looking pretty neck and neck with Mag Hassan. Marco looks like he's going to be returning back to the Senate this next cycle. But we have folk like Kirk in Illinois that maybe a goner. Johnson in Wisconsin as well. So I think the Senate may be a toss-up, but the House I think is
you got Kirk in Illinois. You've got Johnson in Wisconsin. You've got a tight race in Nevada as well. Yes, you have Ayotte, of course, a North Carolina race as well. Another newspaper in Florida has come out against Marco Rubio, supporting Patrick Murphy. That race is tight as well. And so Republicans are very scared that if you have Republican enthusiasm drop with Trump, that might affect them in these House and Senate races.
Sure, but Butterfield and Clyburn are right. What they're really arguing for is more money on the ground, because you can take all the polling, all the social media, all the high-tech technology that comes into polling and voting in an organization, but in the end, on Election Day and leading up to Election Day, and we're voting right now, it's about knocking on doors, dragging them to the polls. It doesn't get any different than that, and they don't have enough money on the ground in some of these battleground states in order to do just that, to transport voters, and that's really what Clyburn and Butterfield are complaining about.
And Tiffany, in this article, they also, Butterfield was very specific that also he said, look, you need to hire firms that are familiar with black folks who know how to turn out black folks.
Right.
Because one of the criticisms of the Hillary Clinton campaign is that you have largely a white firm that's over all ground support, and they've been sending out white campaign workers to HBCUs and others, and they're saying, okay,
that's not going to work.
That's not going to work. And so what he's saying is not only do you spend the money, but also hire black firms who are experts at turning out black people.
Right, and I would say that too, but there's two things, Roland. One is that I would not sleep on millennials, because in a time where the popular, presidential election wasn't as popular as it could have been, folks have definitely turned their attention more to issue-based campaigns and local races and elections, and so that's gotten a lot more energy and excitement because because right now we have Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton winning. But what I'd add to that is we have folks on the ground every single day, whether it's an election year or not, who are doing this work on the ground, who are invested in their communities, who are organizing young black folks, who are working on the HBCU campuses and the historically white universities, folks who are like Dream Defenders, Black Youth Project, there's Hands Up United in St. Louis, there's all kinds of organizations across the country that do this work on a daily basis. And so investing in those organizations, so one, you don't have to start all over. Two, the relationships are already there. And three, that infrastructure is going to continue to build and be invested in to do work after that is really crucial and important, so I agree with you.
But the thing that Butterfield and Clyburn keeps making is that, which is critically important, they say, look, stop expecting black folks to volunteer. He said, pay.
Roland,
let
me tell you something. This is another example of Democrats taking the black vote for granted. They already, the train of thought that you're seeing put on display here is that we have the black vote locked up. We know that we're going to get 85% of the black vote. So we don't have to spend any money on black firms, not to spend any money on black operatives to actually turn out the black vote. And I think, we're not one to talk about turning out the black vote, but I think, folk that actually expect a black vote to vote for them should actually put resources into that demographic.
But Roland, none of this matters whether you get 85% of the black vote or not, unless you get 85% of black people to vote. You got to get them to the polls. And if they're not excited about Hillary the way they were about Barack Obama, that's going to be a challenge. That's the pathway for Trump to win.
But here's the deal. The issue is not excited. And again, the issue is, are you paying the very people who know how to get to them?
Kickstart your day at 7 and get the news you need from the perspective you want. NewsOne Now with Roland Martin. Every weekday morning at 7 on TV1.